Rules update. You are not allowed to take your phone unmuted into the bathroom on the voice call.
I remember when dirt was invented.
Ashes to ashes, cam to cam.
I played Minecraft at the very least.
You've played Minecraft.
It's true, and then a
Yes.
couple of years after that...
Thank you for being a human who exists. Welcome back to OK Go 2. I mean Overheard and UniSFA, a UniSFA podcast.
No, it means Warhammer 40,001.
Welcome back to Warhammer 40,002. Fuck you, Cam. I'm Jon. I'm also back. I'm here with my good buddy.
Me? What? Oh, who? Me?
Not Cam.
No, that's
Cam.
not Cam's a different guy.
Yeah, I'm also here with not Cam, aka Danika, who's
Hi.
our guest for this
Hello.
week.
Hello.
Probably the youngest UniSFA member at the current time.
We are getting close to me no longer being the youngest UniSFA member. What? Right?
I'll just make sure that no one joins.
I don't know, bud. You might still be.
I was one of the youngest in my year, so all the freshers who would have been like, I went to school with will still be older than me until like next year. I'm actually quite upset about this, but like in a funny way.
Yeah.
Upset, but in a funny way.
I get what you mean. Like, I was 17 until October of my first year.
I thought you were just going to say you're
I
17
didn't turn
until
17.
October.
I know. It's you're in your second year.
I thought you were
now,
going to say you turned 17 in October, and I was like, man, you really jumped a few years in like a couple months.
Yeah.
Didn't you, Cam?
I did, though. That's also true.
How's your week been? Or 2 weeks for me? Or, forever, because Danik hasn't been on the podcast before.
No.
How's your life been in the past week?
What did I do in the last week? Oh, spent a lot of time in the city last week. It was good.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's been hot as hell, which would be a terrible time to be anywhere. And then the city is a place where you have to be outside a lot.
We haven't got hot enough that it's 40 degrees and you kill me yet.
Yeah,
I was very
it's
happy.
been really
We
good.
got
The
close
universe wants you
yesterday.
alive, dude.
We got close. I was at your house. I left myself wide open, but we didn't hit it.
Yeah. Again, the universe wants you alive, Jon.
The
That's
universe-
pretty neat.
That's pretty cool.
We got hard
And the
evidence.
universe wants you alive as well. That's why it's not hitting 40 degrees heat. if when it hits 40 degree heat, me and Cam just both die.
Yeah,
he
I killed Jon,
combusts.
but I die at some point.
He
in that
combusts.
process
I
as
die
well.
from fist. Yeah, hand in lovable hand, etc., etc.
Yes.
One thing I did in the past week, which I'm very happy about, is play Twilight Imperium 4th Edition with 6 players.
Nice.
Which is the maximum amount of players for this ginormous board game. For those listeners at home or on the bus and nowhere else, Twilight Imperium is this massive like space opera board game. It comes in a box about the size of like your average desktop computer, and it costs a lot of. I think our standard retail price is like $250 Australian. It's massive. We're playing it on the Uni Games like new table, their custom table. It's like 1.5 by 1.5 meters about, and it just every single like centimeter of that table was covered in components. There's like 10 different decks of various cards. All the tiles for like the systems and the galaxies or whatnot are massive. They're like the size of someone's palm, or like my palm, even bigger. And I've got very big hands. You've got everyone with their faction sheets, their little pools of tokens. They're like,
Okay, so what sort of game is it, like, actually? Like,
it's a board game.
Grand
Yeah.
strategy board game.
board game is very broad.
So it's kind of, I'd say it's a.
Grand strategy.
It's not. It's kind of somewhat like a 4X game. It's more of a 3X game. A 4X game being explore, exploit, exterminate, and expand. So if you think like Civilization, that's like your classic 4X. You're exploring new places. You're exploiting the resources there. You're expanding your empire, and you're exterminating the enemies. So yeah, it's that kind of game. You're playing giant empires. Well, not giant empires. You're kind of starting out playing one of 17 different space races, factions, and expanding out your empire, occupying new worlds and researching technologies and getting into wars with other players and fighting over the capital planet Mechatol Rex and doing things to get victory points. And
how'd it go?
It was so fun. I've played the game maybe quite a few times before, maybe 5 or 6 times before, because it takes a while. The game can be played 3 to 6 players, and this was the first time I ever played it with more than 4 players, and it was at the max of 6. Well, if you get the expansion, you can get 8, but that's insane. And it was so fun. Playing it with 6 players versus playing it with 3 and 4 is so different, because when you're playing a 6-player game, everything feels more cramped, because like the board is bigger, but there's so much less
so many
room.
other people
Right,
doing
you can
things on it.
you could basically get the systems surrounding your home system, then every other one, it's like, okay, that's contentious.
Yeah, now there's negotiation with everyone.
One of the phases in...
Can you form like miniature alliances and then stab yourself in the back? Like stab each other in the
Oh,
back?
absolutely you can.
Yeah, because there are some games where alliances are frowned upon, but you form them anyway. And some games where it's like encouraged.
This game is kind of neither, but I'd say encouraged. Just in the way of...
it's a political game.
It's a political game. There's a lot of negotiating. There's a lot of like fighting over mutual resources. Maybe less than other games. One of my favorite parts about this game is the way you get victory points is there's these decks of objective cards. You deal out 5 stage 1 objectives that give you 1 point, and 5 stage 2 objectives that give you 2 points, and they're all covered. Well, they're all hidden at the start of the game. You reveal the first 2 stage 1s, then every round you reveal another one. And most of them are just like spend resources, spend influence, spend your like special tokens that allow you to do things or research things. Like most of the time getting victory points is not about fighting people.
Yes.
It's about like economy and using resources that would otherwise use to do things to get the victory points instead.
But John, that other space empire has the rocks that I want for my economy.
Exactly. The main thing is
John,
that
they're not going to give me the
there's
rocks
like a
unless
king...
I ask them very nicely or
with a gun?
murder.
You can ask people nicely. There's trade in the game. You can like one of the cool things is you have commodities, which are like little tokens you have, and they do nothing. And then, but if you trade them to another person...
like NTFs. NFTs?
Yeah.
If you trade them to another person, they turn into trade goods, which can then be used as like a wildcard resource or an influence. Resource is like the material currency, influence is like the political currency. The best thing with 6 players is that one of the phases, once someone's got to the galactic like center, Mechatol Rex, you have an agenda phase at the end of every round where you vote on like laws and like directives. So they might elect players to have bonus powers, or they might elect planets to get bonuses, or laws that affect the game, or one-off directives. And then all 6 of you are there discussing how to vote and be like, if you vote for this, I'm going to give you this, and if you vote for that, I'll give you that. Playing with like 3 or 4 players, it's so much less interesting because it's like we 3 agree, and then it's like, okay, well, that's done. Or like 2 people agree and they have slightly more votes than the other 2 people.
Yeah.
Or 3-player, it's like so boring. But 6-player, you've got the amount of negotiation time spent in that phase. Like,
yeah, that's the good shit.
Yeah. Me being like, oh, I'll vote for you this, and he gives me his like this technology, and that lets me get an extra victory point, and it's like, oh, it's all coming together.
Do you know what game I think you'd like? This is one that we play a lot with my family. It's called Raccoon Tycoon, and so you're basically playing as there's the board game. It's like Monopoly, but you're not going to want to kill your like friends and family after you play it, and when you've got the option to auction stuff, sell your resources to like buy stuff at the auction, or to buy like other tokens and things that will get you more money, or to buy stuff that will like let you build a little village to get victory points. And the auctioning is the fun thing, because sometimes you've been auctioning 3 in a row and your little sister is desperate to keep collecting things, and you've collectively agreed as a family that she's not allowed to win, and you know that she only has $22, so you start the bid at $23. My little sister is 10, and we're just like, no, sorry, we have decided the game is ending.
You can't win. I'm sorry. It's like how my stepdad won't play any board games with me because I always win.
Oh, my mum constantly, every time we play board games, she's like, I like this game, I never win. But the thing is, every single board game we ever play, she wins. And she just has, like, decided this is canon, and it's just not.
She needs to get more board game self-confidence.
No, it's a mind game.
Honestly, it might be. She's not very good at this mind game, though, because she's been known to cheat for us. Like, if we really want something, it's not uncommon for her just to slide it under the table. Because, you know, she is still our mum and she, like, wants it to be a fun game. But, like, part of the fun is how much cheating can happen before the other members at the table notice.
What is the acceptable amount of cheating in a board game?
Depends on the board game.
Or what board games is it
Highly
okay to
contextual.
cheat? What board games is it okay to cheat
Who are you
in?
playing with?
Yeah, your buds.
With your buds, it's first time you play it, no cheating's acceptable.
Yeah,
And
because you've got to
then
learn the rules.
After everyone's like confident with the game, it becomes how much cheating is funny.
Yes, exactly. Have I
funny,
told the
you can
story
get
of the
away with it.
podcast of when I cheated at poker at your house? It happened
No.
pretty recently.
Does Cam know you cheated at poker at his
No, I don't
wasn't
think he was
involved in
there.
this, yeah.
But we were gonna play some poker. It was like drink poker, but people didn't really work out the rules, so we just ended up playing some poker. And people needed to know what the poker hands were, so we wrote down
Yeah.
on a big sheet of paper
You get
the
the-
hands, and then at the very top I don't remember who added it, but someone added cheating, because if you get like a 5 of a kind, right, that obviously
Yes.
beats the royal flush
yeah.
or something. But it's impossible, so it's cheating. Anyway, there were multiple decks around,
Yeah.
and we were playing with a deck, and I'm just like, hey, Geordie, who wasn't playing, can you just hand me that deck? And he passed me the deck, and I'm just kind of fiddling with it and whatnot. And the first, the flop comes around, and I just like kind of switch my card out with one from this other deck. So the decks, the back of them were both blue, but the pattern was different, and also the coloring of blue. Like, it was a noticeably lighter blue. So if anyone really looked, like, it was not hard to spot. Maybe from like the other end of the table, but then I would like slide my cards like so they were basically all hidden by like a coaster or a plate. And then we kept playing, and I was just like betting so much. I made sure like it got very big. And people were just willing to keep going with it. And then, like, the final card comes down, and I just, like, take the card I slid in and cheated, and I swap it with a different one, which gives me a better hand. And again, no one notices. And then and then we get round, and I win by cheating. Because I'm just like, yeah, check out this hand I've got. And then I had to point out that I was cheating to everyone because they didn't realize. and I was like, guys, it was a really good bit. Please notice it.
Well, yeah, if you don't tell them you're doing it, then you're just cheating. Whereas if you tell them it's a bit,
Yeah. Well, I won, and then I told them I cheated.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's how you.
Because that was the optimal thing. Because no one noticed, and you actually win by doing the cheating thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a good, like, setup and delivery. I'm not good at comedy, but, like, you wrote out cheating on the board, so I'd say that it had to happen.
It had to happen. Someone had to do it, and I took that burden on myself.
Somebody's gotta do it, so it might... No, you've not seen that musical yet. I'm going to force you to watch a musical called Spies of Forever. It's by the sister company, brother company.
Spy for
Spies
yeah,
Are
that
Forever.
anime.
No,
Sorry, I'm not really into. I don't really feel like watching that. I'm sorry.
John, you said literally yesterday that I need to, like, bully you into watching more
And
musicals.
I never said that.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I sent a message that said something along the lines of,
Y'all are right.
you should
I
watch
should watch more
musicals.
musicals.
I
People
believe
saying
you.
this
I
to
know that
me.
John
and
said
then,
exactly what you said that he
no,
said.
Yeah.
I specifically pointed out that no one had ever said it to me.
Well, I'm saying it now, and I'm going to tell you about this musical that I think you'll like.
Oh, I think the audio in my headset's really. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
So this musical, it's set in the 60s with this James Bond type guy. His name is Kurt Megger. And
Okay, good name.
it is a good name. It's the actor's real name in real life. And they just kept it. And it's this James Bond type guy. And in the first 5 minutes, he's going with his partner, whose name I can't remember, but the actor plays Ron in a Harry Potter musical. So in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, Ron! That's not his name.
Ron Minnie. Kurt, Megan, Ron, Minnie.
Yeah, and they've got all the, like, stereotypical, like, oh, James Bond macho type jokes, and then in the first 5 minutes, I don't think this is spoilers because it's set up this way, the first 5 minutes his best friend dies. It's horrifying. It's awful. 5 years passes, and then this Russian spy named Tatiana shows up, and the most dangerous man alive is also in town, and they've got to go and work with these. The Russian spy is working for the most dangerous man alive, and they've got to work together to try and figure out what's happening and what are they planning. And also the Nazis are there, and it's the Cold War.
I mean, the Nazis are always there, and that's the problem. They're still here. God fucking. So, what do they find out, or are you not going to spoil it for the audience?
I'm not going to spoil it because I want you to watch it with me. Also, the songs are great.
So it's James Bond. He's a James Bond guy. There's a spy. He needs to stop him.
Yeah, there's more to the plot, but I can't tell you what the plot is. One, because spoilers, and two, because I'll be honest, I can't quite remember.
I'm going to continue making assumptions. The making. Maker, the making. Mr. Maker, the making. The apocalyptic Mr. Maker sequel. Do you know that show?
Yeah, I've seen all of it.
Really?
Mr.
Every
Maker?
single episode of Mr. Maker?
No, the whole thing. Say it all again, John. Say the right show name, or I won't know which one you're talking
Mr.
about.
Maker, the making. The apocalyptic sequel. That's the full title.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Sweet. I sometimes forget you can see into the future, Cam. The tortured future. The
I
ancient
got that
future.
fucking Night Lord's...
Can I
Cam, who was
complain
here
about
before
something?
dirt existed, but knew it would come
Can I
one day.
vent about something?
Yeah.
Do you all know about the Tumblr women elections
Yes,
of 2023?
because you told me about it.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give some context here of, if anyone remembers that Twitter poll for, like, Tumblr sexy men, that Reagan ended up winning. Not the president, though that would have been very funny.
Yes.
I thought it was Ronald Reagan.
No, the guy
president.
from Mob Psycho 100. He is...
Good show.
But they finally added polls to Tumblr, and it's been a lot of fun.
Reagan is a Twitter sexy man.
Yeah, and so they redid the Tumblr sexy man polls, with which Reagan got out like the quarter. So yeah, confirmed Twitter sexy man.
My door just blew closed. Don't worry about it.
Cecil won that one, but of course after the Tumblr man polls, we had the Tumblr woman polls, and I would like to say this was Tumblr woman, not Tumblr sexy woman. I think someone else was doing those, but they weren't as popular. So the Tumblr women elections, and the result just came out.
Fucking girl bloggers, yeah.
That in the final, Vriska lost to Marceline.
Marceline,
by 3%.
the vampire queen?
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm really upset about it.
Yeah.
Us Vriska sweep truers had to struggle to get Vriska past Kataya, a character that doesn't exist, only existed
Katya.
for 3 months. Katya. That
Katya from
51%. We managed to get
Yes,
Vriska
Katya, the
through
drag
Rainbow
queen?
Dash. We got Vriska through Bayonetta, though that was surprisingly easy. How did Bayonetta beat Hatsune Miku? We'll never know. And then we
Probably
just lose
the
to this... Homestuck was trending on Tumblr. Was Adventure Time trending? No. The amount of fan art and
but
stuff
how
I
many
saw
people-
for Vriska sweep, and it just Vriska is the Tumblr girl.
Yeah, but how many people have like emotional attachments to Marceline and Bubblegum because that was their like first gay character that they were like, oh.
You do not know the impact of Vriska. Homestuck is Tumblr is Homestuck.
I
Homestuck
think the
is
one
Tumblr.
that I voted for deserved to win, regardless of the outcome.
Exactly.
John, 2023.
I think the one I voted for deserves to win, regardless of the outcome. Though it was pointed out
who looks
that
exactly like Marshall Lee, like the mask version of Marceline, and so I have to be biased and be like, yes, I would vote for Marceline because otherwise,
that's not Marceline. That would be Tumblr man Marshall Lee. This is Tumblr woman. Okay, you can't vote for Marceline because you like the man version of that character.
I don't even like the man version of that character.
It's
It's one of my friends looks like that character, and so I'm like, okay, I legally required to be like, yeah.
Also, John Aranea Stan.
So
that didn't impact your voting for Vriska?
my voting for Vriska was all. I had many reasons to vote for Vriska, but the fact that I'm a fan of the character Aranea from Homestuck, I feel like the reason I'm a fan of Aranea is a symptom of the same reasons I voted for Vriska and not a cause. Right? You've got the cause, and it causes both of these things.
Yes.
Vriska's the one who's on all the images that are like, to be cringe is to be free, right?
No, that's Nepeta. That would be Nepeta.
I like Nepeta.
Yeah,
mostly because she's
that's
on
because
that.
everyone loves Nepeta.
I know nothing about her. I just know that
Don't
she's
worry,
on
you'll
that.
learn very little about her, and then you'll stop learning about her. But it was funny that a lot of people have pointed out this is the second time Vriska has been knocked out by a lesbian vampire.
What was the first time?
Read Homestuck and find out.
When UniSFA does the screening, I will show up.
That's good to hear. I'm glad someone will show up.
It's just
I'm interested to see how that'll go because I'll do Homestuck this year. I was kind of like being like, oh, maybe I won't do it. But I talked to so many people, and so many people seem to be excited for it, and I'm like, no, yeah, this will be fun. So I reckon. I mean, it depends on how many people show up, really, but I reckon we can get a good turnout, and then it will be good.
Yeah, it's a fun thing to do.
Yeah. Though there were some times, about like halfway through the year when you and Merlin did it, Cam, that it was just like me and you guys.
Yeah,
I distinctly remember an
ups and
online
downs.
one, which was you, Merle, me, and
The online ones were rough.
and a member who has now been like banned.
Yeah.
I found it. I was incredibly proud that I came to more of those screenings than both of you.
Yeah.
I didn't miss a single one.
Yeah.
The only one in person, there was one in person that I didn't go to in person, and I went to online, which was very funny because it had Jon show up to Jon reunite with some of the characters, and then being like, "Oh my God, Jon, you're really here!" And it was the one time I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Jon was named after a Homestuck character, confirmed?
No, the Homestuck character was named after me. Well, he was supposed to, but he didn't like the name. What was it? Zeus smell poop fart?
Zeus smell poop lord.
Zeus smell poop lord, yeah.
I swear, reading Homestuck is going to be like watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show for the first time. Admittedly, the first time I watched the Rocky Horror Picture Show, I did it with my aunt and cousins, and my youngest cousin was 11 at the time, and so there were a couple of scenes we had to skip, but I don't think that made it easier to understand the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, yeah, no, it will be like that. I don't know much about the Rocky Horror Picture Show, I'm going to be honest.
I'm adding it to the list of things that I'm going to watch with you, because Rocky Horror is...
Danika's going to kidnap me one day, just
I'm not going to kidnap you.
force me to watch like a bunch of
She's gonna
stuff.
pick you up and throw you to the place where the stuff is.
I mean, she can try. Just
I believe.
the place where the stuff is.
Yeah, I don't know what
Where
stuff
is
you're gonna
that?
be forced to do. That's not
But
up to me.
there's
I don't
a
know.
place.
There's going to be an outtakes video that's going to come up that's just going to be me desperately attempting to lift Jon the same way that, like, Captain America tries to lift Mjolnir in Age of Ultron.
No, it's
good to
just
know I'm
like
just a hammer to beat
It's
things
just like
with.
a Smash Bros. But you just pick him up.
No,
you
you
walk
can
around.
you can only lift Mjolnir if you're worthy, right?
People can only lift me
That's
if they're
also
worthy.
true of Jon. Yeah.
Yeah, people can only lift me if they're worthy. Cam, have you ever tried to lift me?
No,
Probably a good idea.
John, I don't lift things, dude.
Yeah.
The temptation to
You work
just
at a
like
gym.
make the podcast go silent and be like, Jon, stand in the middle of the room, but like that's not a funny visual gag because
It's not
you
a
can't
funny
see
visual
us.
gag because it's not. It's just a funny gag.
Doing funny visual gags on a podcast that's audio only is a good bit, though, and I think that we always do them, and we always should.
Like the funny visual gag I'm doing right now.
John, that's just a perfect the robot that you're doing. That's not
Thank
really a
you.
gag. That's just a dance. Flawless.
Flawless, just like robots.
Yes.
Perfection of. As soon as I realized the perfection of my flesh,
Especially the
I
other one.
hated it, and I wanted the flaws of the machine.
Yeah. All right.
That is it. What that's pretty human, right? Like, what if flesh is too perfect, and then you have to get the flaws of the machine, and then you're more human because humanity's
Yeah,
about
but
flaws.
machines' flaws
John,
only
you're a
exist
madman.
because of like humanity.
What if it was like a replicant that was like, I need to become more robot?
Because it's flawed.
Yeah,
It's
don't
a
know.
novel and interesting take. I like where you're going.
I could write the next Blade Runner film.
Yes. You should.
I should. Okay, I've been told to write write a Blade Runner film, and also Percy Jackson novel today.
Yes.
My favorite part is when he just runs those blades.
Yeah, my favorite part is when the blades run. All 2,049 of them. Though that was in the sequel. They had a lot less in the original.
Yeah,
they
I
only
didn't
had
watch
one.
that because I missed 2 through 2048. So I was like, yeah, probably there's a lot of context there that I'm not going to have.
About why I stopped watching Marvel.
Yeah, I was literally going to say that's just Marvel.
Yeah.
I watched up until like Loki, the TV show, and then there were so many TV shows. There were so many TV shows, and there were so many movies, and I was just like, absolutely not. I love everything until the TV shows, and I can't do anymore. I've fallen so behind. Someone at UniSFA is going to have to force me to watch everything else.
I don't think they're going to.
I'm going to have to force myself.
Is it worth it?
Probably not. Actually, I've seen Shang-Chi. That was pretty good. But everyone was like being mean about it because it wasn't like the hype of Endgame, and I'm like, dude, Iron Man was also not that good when it first came out.
The last time I watched Marvel was Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, and I hadn't watched like the before ones, but someone explained the minimum context for me.
I think the last full Marvel movie from the MCU, at least, that I saw would be Age of Ultron.
Wow,
What?
that one kind of sucked.
Yeah,
I think the Doctor Strange one I watched also kind of sucked.
did
Yeah.
suck.
The thing I also watched like Thor Ragnarok last
Thor
year.
Ragnarok was good. I enjoyed
But the
that.
thing I've realized about Marvel movies is because there's the whole cinematic universe thing, that they don't end.
They're just TV. It's just a long TV
It's
show.
just a
at this
long
point.
TV show. Like the movie doesn't end. Like they kind of end, but it's like the characters are off to go do another thing, and all like there's unresolved tension, or there's always like a cliffhanger for the next one. It's like.
I don't know.
It's too much effort. Like, it reaches a point where my the effort required to keep up with it, I'm like, no, thank you.
Is it actually even possible?
Like I think it. I mean, I'm sure there are people that do it. I don't know. I stopped thinking it was worth doing.
Like, when WandaVision came out, that was like the first Marvel movie that came out after COVID, and I like genuinely like kind of teared up at the intro because I'm like, I missed this, and now I'm like burnt out on Marvel, and I'm like, I'm gonna just pretend that everything after WandaVision didn't happen.
You're smiling and you're like, I'm missing this.
Yeah.
What's it? We're ragging on Marvel movies and all this like interconnected stuff, but I've taken a dive into Star Wars publishing.
Oh god.
Oh,
So
God.
books and comics
Whew.
and whatnot. I currently
Star Wars has always suffered from every character knowing every character with like at most one degree of separation between them.
That's a little bit how it feels like walking into Cam Hall, though, which is not at all the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's a galaxy, but like, if I go up
in
to
a
someone,
call
Yeah,
a
no,
long
here-
time ago.
Yeah, this is like a local community as
Yeah.
opposed to like a whole galaxy of people doing shit.
Yeah. I bought
oh no,
a comic.
here's the thing that
I ju-
happened today that was really weird. I took my brother to school because every single thing I'm going to tell you about my brother is going to sound fake, but I went with my brother to drop him off at school, and there was someone sat in the lobby outside his classroom talking, and I hear their voice, and I go, oh, I recognize you. I go up to them. I've not seen this person in like 5 years. I'm like, excuse me, are you name here? And they go, yeah, I am. And I go, I sound like a stalker now, don't I? But were you friends with ex-friend of mine? And they go, yeah, I was. And I'm like, it's been 5 years. This isn't a place where you aren't supposed to be. And yet, here you are, taking a class with my brother.
I think you should tell Cam what your brother is doing.
What is my brother doing? My brother is doing video game design and
Animation.
yeah.
Neat.
He makes Warhammer animation.
Oh, yes.
Oh, sick.
If ever there's been a time where I've been on the Uni Games Discord, it has 100% been because my brother posted a new YouTube video and I wanted to promote it in the Warhammer channel and then disappear until someone ats me to tell me to come play board games with them.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. What was that? No, never mind. We've already discussed this. I was thinking of you mentioned this on another podcast about the Warhammer, like, fan animator that they like ended up hiring because it was like so good.
Oh yeah, for the TV show, there was a live stream. We watched it in the car. So I don't play Warhammer. I don't know anything about Warhammer, but my family is very big in the Warhammer community.
Neat.
Kind of a big deal. We throw a lot of hammers. We do a lot of war.
Like, yeah. But sorry, my brain broke.
No,
but
it's okay.
so I know a lot about Warhammer for someone who has never played it.
Yeah.
Because my brother plays it, my dad plays it, one of my oldest friends plays it, and I do a lot of work at Warhammer events, and so I ask people how their games went, and they tell me things and expect me to know what that means. I just smile and nod and pretend like but there was a live stream about this TV show that we watched in the car because we had to, because family work stuff. And these people didn't know how to describe the Warhammer fan animations, like the Warhammer TV show that they were putting out. So they just sat there for 5 minutes being like, yes, it's very grim and dark and gritty. And it's very like,
it's in the
TV
future.
show is a very dark show.
There's only war.
It was actually quite dark in terms of like color grading, but I think they meant that it was like, this will be mature themes. Please don't watch the Warhammer shows with your small children.
Mm. Well, it's also like that's how they think that they should be advertising it.
Yeah,
to people that want it.
Isn't the tagline of Warhammer in the grim dark future of...
In the grim darkness of the far future, there's only war, yeah.
Yes. I'm like that cat from Adventure Time that's like, I know you, Frank the human. I have an approximate knowledge of many things, Frank the human. Wow, how did you almost know my name? That's me about Warhammer.
Warhammer 35,000.
My household, after about a year of having far more Warhammer than we ever thought we would have, we have finally started, like, we've gotten to the point where we can use it and start playing games with it and stuff. Because it's been hot, so we've been upstairs. Some
really good tournaments that I could highly recommend to you.
Fair enough. We're mostly playing, like, local casual with a few friends of ours.
Yeah,
you're doing, like, a narrative thing, right?
Yeah.
Not, running like, as much a competitive thing.
Yeah. It's not mixed doubles. Mixed doubles is later in the year.
That's tennis.
Mixed doubles is quite funny because there were these two guys who there were some girls at their local club that weren't feeling confident enough to come to an event, but they didn't know how to ask these girls, hey, do you want to go to the event with me? They didn't know how to do that. Because apparently they are a stereotype and didn't know how to talk to women. So the next best thing they could do was they dressed in drag. Like, they came in skirts and makeup and, like, the full...
Interesting solution.
Yeah, their solution was, we want women to feel included, so we dressed in drag. And we didn't get bullied, and so you'll be fine. And I'm like, you know what?
All right.
That works.
Yeah, that works.
That's galaxy-brained as all hell, and far beyond, like... I mean, like, I get it, right? Sometimes it's so hard to talk to women that it's easier to just do something where you are risking, like, direct personal ridicule from other guys. But that is pushing the line on how much I can expect there. Like, that's like, god damn.
One of the guys looked really comfortable in it to the point where I'm like, you wear this normally, don't you? Like, you look good. God damn it.
This is
like,
something
you want an excuse to wear this.
Yeah, you want an excuse to wear this, and I don't
totally
blame
fair.
you. You look amazing. And then there was this other guy who he looked much less confident in it, but at no point did he change. He was like, I signed up for this.
Committed, yeah.
And someone
Good
else,
on him.
I think he took his girlfriend and he dressed in a maid costume for it. He was like, yes, we will make this an event. This is how we'll make it an inclusive space. And I'm like, you know what?
It's a good step. That's really funny, actually. I think that's a really nice thing that they did, even if the reasons that they did it are completely incomprehensible to most people. But yeah, I'm running. Yes, I'm sort of organizing it mostly. A bit of like a local crusade, which is like a narrative, not tournament, but like ongoing.
Like D&D, but for Warhammer.
A local crusade.
But yeah,
don't bring
I
up
have
D&D.
I know,
No.
I'm sorry. Do you
No,
want me to
that's
say
all right.
that line again, but be like Pathfinder, but for Warhammer?
No, I took the intent as meant. Like, that's all good. I more meant, like, it's not quite that.
Mm-hmm.
It is more of like a... Well, because, like, RPGs came from wargaming.
Yeah.
This is a step that's still very much on the wargaming end of it, but it is just got narrative elements. It's like a... I don't really know how to describe it.
Is it like Cursed City? Have you played Cursed City? It's a dungeon. I think it's a dungeon crawl game. I played it, but I can't remember. But it's set in the Warhammer universe.
Oh, Mordheim.
That might be what it got renamed to.
I think it was Mordheim, the Cursed City.
Yes.
Yeah, where you play like a gang of
yeah, there's an ogre, there's an elf lady, there's a...
Oh, no, that's a board game. I do know. It's like a board game made by the same
searching it up.
people
It
using
looks like a
miniatures and
board
everything.
game. It's very big.
No, I think it's set in Mordheim. Yes, I haven't played that one myself, but it's similar. That's still that's a step further towards RPGs. There's versions of that for Warhammer 40k. Like there's Kill Team, which is quite similar to that, and there are I think there's Blackstone Fortress.
Warhammer Quest.
Yes, I've heard of Blackstone Fortress.
Yeah. This is it has similar progression mechanics as the thing goes on. But yeah, I'm playing as a faction that doesn't exist. I'm playing loyalist.
As in like the 2nd and the 11th, or like...
No. So okay, you can, if you can ask that question, I can go ham on this. I'm playing as
he's going wild.
Loyalist Primaris Night Lords.
Huh?
I recognize all of those words.
Yep.
Oh, I only recognize 2 of them.
See, this is what I mean, is normally when this happens, I call my brother, and I say, Lachlan, what does this mean?
No, that's okay.
And my brother translates for me, but my brother's not here.
So I'm playing as one of the Chaos Legions.
Yes, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've taken the rules that Legion gets if you're playing Chaos.
Are they the, I know you paint Death Guard. Are you painting...
I did paint some Death Guard. This is not them.
Are they the Slaanesh?
No, Night Lords are the spooky ones.
Is just like
they're the
bro.
Dark,
Slaanesh is my favorite.
midnight blue armor with lightning
This
on
doesn't
it.
surprise me.
Spooky boys.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm playing... Primaris Marines... The guy that made them was like, yeah, I've got them ready from all 20 legions. And the guy in charge was like, from what? From all 20? He's like, from all 9 legions. All 9 Loyalist legions is what we've made these from. So it's canon that there are like Traitor Legion Primaris Space Marines around on the Loyalist side.
Mm-hmm.
And I built one of those.
Oh, that's fun.
But and because it's like a narrative game, they've let me switch out the Night Lord specific rules from the Chaos book to use with my regular Marines, which is great flavorfully, and sucks real bad for me because fear mechanics aren't good. They're never good, and so my guys are just worse than if I had used something else to represent them.
They just kind of suck a little.
They do. They spec really hard into a mechanic that's just not actually that good, and but that's okay. I'm having fun with it.
That's
even
what
if
you want.
I got fucking annihilated by clowns in the first game.
Oh, the Harlequins?
Yeah, my housemate's a Harlequins player.
My brother plays Chaos and my dad plays Eldar, and so there's a lot of... I can't tell whether it's a joke, but there's a lot of, like, arguments about which side is better. My brother is very anti-Slaanesh, whereas I quite like Slaanesh because they partied so hard they made a Chaos God. That's so funny to me. Yeah. That's like Dionysus' core.
Yeah. The Eldar partied so hard that the god of excess and just birthed and exploded their whole race.
Yeah, that did happen.
And Harlequins are the only, they're the worshippers of the only Eldar god that lived, Kagarak, the god of, laughter. And,
oh, that's a nice god.
The clown god.
Yeah, none of the other gods are good in Warhammer.
Yes, it's true. But yeah, Kagarak sort of backflipped out laughing. And now his legion of religious fanatic murder clowns are they're
just like Homestuck.
They're no, actually though, I do plan on. We have 2 solitaires for some reason, so I'm going to get one of them, even though Jack has the clowns. They're called solitaires because you can only have one of them in your army, and so there's a spare one that I'm going to get to paint, and I am going to paint it like Gamzee.
Yeah.
But yeah, fucking horrible nightmare clowns that run around teaching history to other Eldar and occasionally pulling pranks on everyone else. They killed a whole hive world, which is like a giant city planet full of people with a prank called the Pit of Teeth. We don't know what the Pit of Teeth is, but we know it's funny.
Are we sure it's funny, or is everyone's given the choice to laugh or be killed?
No, that's the thing. It killed them all. It killed everyone.
I think...
we know it's funny, because they did it.
I think the most interesting, like, chaos god in Eldar is the death god, who's basically just content to sit back and wait because, like, he knows in the end he's going to win. All of the other ones can keep doing their thing. He's just going to sit there.
He's already
the Eldar death god?
won.
I think so,
That's new, actually. They had to build that.
Oh.
Yeah, so they were like, Slaanesh is winning and we're, like, slowly dying out as a race. What if we, like, accelerationismed ourselves into having a death god for ourselves? Which is controversial. A lot of people don't like that they did that.
I mean, they already
like
accidentally
people
birthed
in
one
universe
god.
or out of universe. Okay.
No, out of universe, I think most people are like, that's fucking cool that they did that. Because it's like, okay, they had to hard cause this, which meant that they had to cause a lot of deaths.
Guys create inevitable god of death.
So they now
widely
have,
regarded as a bad move.
Well, they have like a half-formed death god now. Well, I think it was like, Slaanesh was just sort of chill waiting about it, but now they have a death god in theory, and so it's
not just like a sleep god, half-formed death god.
Yeah.
I like and think about certain Homestuck characters.
Although we did.
Oh yeah, because the Homestucks have that music video where it's just clowns. Is that a thing that you've showed me?
I think that's a thing that exists. I don't remember it.
I don't know. This is another thing I don't know enough about to be able to, like, provide you anything other than half-formed ideas and memories.
Well, here's something that you don't need to know anything to get. We did name Jack's Death Jester.
Oh, what
his name is Jeff Deathster.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's really good.
He's Jeff Deathster, Death Jester.
Jeff and Deathster.
Yeah.
My favorite PlayStation game. I want to go back a long way to the Star Wars thing I was talking about, because I'm really excited about that. I currently have 7 Star Wars book/graphic novels in the mail.
Oh, that is a lot.
Yeah, so I bought a Star Wars comic, I didn't read it, but then I watched all the new movies, and I was like, no, I'm going to get some more. And I bought 3. A Darth Vader one, which I think looks at him between like episodes 3 and 4. It's quite good, apparently.
Yeah.
That's one called Crimson Empire, which looks at the Royal Guard, the Imperial Royal Guard, the red dudes who don't do anything in any of the movies. It follows one of them after the fall of the Empire. Seems quite interesting. And one called the High Republic, which was set 200 years before the Phantom Menace. And that was the one that arrived first, and I read it, and it was really quite good. So I'm like, what's this High Republic thing? Turns out, like, 2 years ago, they did this giant kind of, and they're still doing it, this giant publishing push of, like, or this new thing of this kind of interconnected set of novels and comic books set in, like, the High Republic. So, 200 years ago, before the fall of the Republic, the golden age of the Republic, when, like, the Jedi were everywhere, they were, really in their golden age. And there is, like, there's, like, 3 phases to this giant push. Each one has multiple waves. Each wave has, like 2, at minimum, like, 2 comics, like a regular one and like one for a younger audience. 3 books. There's an adult novel series, a younger adult novel series, a middle grade novel series, and then just a bunch of other things as well.
It's a lot to get
They're
into.
releasing like audio dramas, one shot like graphic novels and comics, manga. There's like two manga have been released for it. Just other related books.
So what I'm hearing is it's actually going to be pretty easy to convince you to read Percy Jackson, like all of the Percy Jackson novels, because there's not that many. I say, having sent you the picture of my shelf, and it's like
20 books.
Yeah.
Well, you can point at that. That'll do it.
Yeah.
That's Percy J. Axon, by the way.
I like it. Yeah, that's when I first came in here. I'm like, oh yo, it's Percy, my faves. But
Percy J.
The trollified Percy Jackson we have on the computer in here.
Yeah. But the original series, there's 5 books, and then in the sequel series, there's 5 books, and then in the sequel series,
there's 5 books.
In the Percy Jackson novel?
No, in the sequel series, the third series, there's 5 books.
Yeah, and then in the same universe, but doesn't get a crossover until it's like a collection of short stories. There's 3 books.
Oh.
And then a collection of short stories, and then there's another. And those are the Egyptian novels. And then there's the Norse novels that you get 3 books and, like, the acknowledgement that they exist together. And then apparently there's a new Percy, Annabeth, and Grover series coming out, and I'm very excited for that.
Aw. That's gonna be good.
Because Trials
For
of
you.
Apollo, they like tease it. They're like, there will be no more books in the Camp Half-Blood. And then Rick was like, but also I'm doing the fingers pointing to each other. He's like, but also maybe I've set myself up for another like standalone book, and I don't know. I don't think Rick's willing to leave these characters behind either, and I'm quite excited.
That's nice to hear when like the old series is getting revived. It's like your childhood thing. That's good.
Percy Jackson's the
Rick
same age
Riordan's
as me, and we
cool
just
about it
pretend
as well.
like we don't know.
I should go back and read all the new Diary of a Wimpy Kids that like came out since I stopped reading it. Because that's one of the things I read as a kid.
I think it comes down to like, it sounds like Rick Riordan likes the characters and he's like, I'm writing this because I want to keep writing this.
I think so, and
That's a great sign.
He also has a publishing house because he gets people being like, hey, are you going to write about like Hindu mythology, or are you going to write about like other Hindus? I believe the only one I've read is Arusha, and I believe that's Hindu. If I'm wrong, I will message Jon and be like, Jon, I was stupid, and it's actually this one. But he doesn't know how to write that, and so he's got his entire like publishing house where he gets people from those cultures to write stories that are the modern day interpretations of that myth.
That's cool.
And I'm kind of sad that I like...
That's respectful.
Yeah, because the Arusha book, I've only read the first one because I couldn't find the other ones, but it's got that same humor, but it's just a little like... But it's obviously like a different author playing in a different universe, even though I would be so excited if it also turned out that like Arusha got to like team up with Percy. That would be so fun. Just like give me the end game, but for Rick Riordan's universe.
That's cool.
And I hope, yeah, like that's good. Because it's always hit or miss when people start up old things, and like I'm glad that one's going well. Because you go,
he seems like he's passionate about it, not doing it for the money.
Where the author was like, I don't really like the character that I've spent the first like chunk of this writing, so I'm just going to change her personality to match my girlfriend instead of being the character that I've written. And it's like, oh,
does that happen much?
Yes.
Oh,
that happens. Still not very pleasant.
Really?
That's what I'm saying. Like specifically, he was like, yeah, he just sort of stopped giving a shit about the way he'd written his character until then.
Something really interesting is Sarah
Wild.
J. Maas. I'm rereading her first series, and I expected to hate it because her most recent books that she's written are terrible.
Yeah, I
Like-
only know her as like a controversial author.
Oh,
Oh.
really? So, as someone who's been like around UniSFA for a while, Sarah J. Maas was, I think, a couple years ago, like just like post-pandemic, was the when we ask freshers which books they're into.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one
So-
they all said. Is the yeah.
I have two thoughts on Sarah J.
Bonus
Maas.
points.
The first is that her most recent books, the people can come for me. I'm correct. Her most recent book in the Akatar series is bad, right? I don't like it. It's too many pages, it's bloated, and it doesn't fit with the rest of the series, and it's bad.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of porn. And I did not come for the porn because I started reading this series when I was 12, and I've been informed that there was a lot of porn in that too, but I don't remember that. Right? I have no memory of that. I came for the plot, and there was no plot, but there was a lot of dicks. And so that was quite upsetting because I was reading it in the car, like next to my siblings, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
it's not
going to
comfy.
hell for this.
I appreciate the face Cam was making during that, which was if you go to your computer and you put in like a semicolon, and then you get a square bracket, an open square bracket, and put that there, that is almost exactly the face Cam was making. Like,
Yeah, it is. So I don't like that book. I pretend it doesn't exist. I pretend I do not
you're
see
doing a
it.
very bad job.
Yeah, but it's like Sarah J. Maas is fun to hate, right? Sarah J. Maas and Cassandra Clare. I'm just gonna like be mean about them. Like,
I've only read one Sarah J. Maas book. It was the first of the Throne of Glass books. I
See-
read it with Merlin in the car.
see, I
as
think Throne
one
of
of the
Glass
things
is
we
her best series. In my opinion, I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, Throne of Glass is her best series because it reads like a fairy tale, and that's when she was still like treating this like, oh, there are fairies and there's magic and
Yeah.
there's witches, and I'm going to write it so it sounds like a little bit pretentious, but it's like an adult fairy tale.
Yeah, we were coming into it expecting it to be like Divergent here, and it was nowhere near that brutal to read. We didn't have to spend
God,
like
Divergent
the
sucked.
pacing in the first book is not good, but
No.
the
Also,
Like-
the names. She has really bad names. Like, this is a...
Can you give some examples?
So, guess how you pronounce the name? Choal.
Shoal.
Or Kale, Cole,
how was it
Chol.
pronounced?
No one knows.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
It's your interpretation.
Yeah.
That's the
Okay,
beauty
no,
of art.
Okay, I remember the name that we took the most issue with.
Which was?
Selena?
No,
Spell
so
it.
Selena. Like we usually, we pick one and we run with it, whatever. The issue we took was she gets a dog, right?
Oh, Fleetfoot.
Fleetfoot the dog, and the dog's real fast. And one of the boyfriend characters.
Oh, Dorian.
Is Dorian. He's the prince of the fucking kingdom, and he's like notably
Prince
well
of
read.
Alderaan.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Alderaan? I don't think so.
He's the prince.
He's the
Alderan's
prince of the colonizer country. He's the prince of
notably,
England.
Like, he's meant to be well read, and like he is established. He reads a lot of books.
He's
Oh,
a bookish, pretentious snob who likes to fuck.
And she
Oh
goes,
boy, I sure hope there's no
"Yeah, I've
pictures of him."
decided to name the dog Fleetfoot." And he goes, "Oh, what does that mean?"
And she goes, because look at his feet. It's going to be fast. And he goes, okay.
And it's like, what do you mean? What does that? What do you mean? Why is he? He's called Fleetfoot because he's.
Yeah.
I forget the exact way it's said, but it's like, you know what that means, man.
My other favorite stupid name is, so everything is fantasy names. So there's this princess called Nehemia, and she's from Elwi, which is a place that is being colonized, and it's never given any establishment. It's apparently more civilized than where they live in the West, but like literally it's never given any time. And she gives Selena a name because she like finds out that all that Selena's been through, and she's like, I give you a new name, Alentia. It means the spirit that cannot be broken. And names are like a big deal in this series. It's one of the things that I quite like. But I'm like, this woman, she gets so many names. Like, she has too many names. She ends up with like
Lisa
5.
For someone else.
Yeah, she has like 5 names by the end of the series.
Yeah. Nehemia was a weird one for us because we do when we're reading a series that we're not expecting to take particularly seriously, right? We do pick voices for each character.
Yeah.
And so Nehemia, we didn't know anything about her character at the time, so we're just like, it seems to be setting her up as if it's implying she's an evil wizard, but she's not necessarily. But either way, we are going to voice her like she's Skeletor.
Sorry, I need to go to the bathroom. Keep talking.
I'm trying not to deafen the poor headphone users.
No, so it's fine. We'll fix it in post. There's a limit to how loud these will let you be.
Oh, excellent, because I've definitely reached it a couple times.
No, you have. That's fine. That's normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, the king is fucking bad Italian. Like, we're talking like a shitty Mario impersonation.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Who else is there? We gave Selena the same voice we give Vriska.
What's that voice?
It's like a valley girl.
You are correct.
Yes, we are. We at no point regretted that.
Because, see, part of this is nostalgia, but I reread the first book, and I'm like, Selena, you're annoying.
Yeah.
Like, I still like you, but most of that's nostalgia, because you're like, this girl, she comes out of prison. She has been starving for a year. She's been whipped. Like, the fact she's not dead is purely because of other people's kindness. Like, she has no right to be alive.
She's also, like, tough as shit, but
yeah. She's tough, but also, like...
Yeah, she nearly died, and she does suffer.
She nearly died.
Yeah.
The thing that she complains about is that after almost starving for a year, her boobs are small now. She's like, I used to have such a great figure.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, and it really bugs me. Because there are parts of it, like, I genuinely enjoy the fact that she's a strong female character who is, like...
And, like, she is traumatized by, like, the horrible things that happen to her, but that line's not very good.
Who is, like, happy to be femme. I really enjoy that because there are so many characters who they, like... To show that they're strong, they just write man with boobs. And I like that she gets to be femme, but also, like, girly. There are more important things than your tits. You'll survive.
There are, yeah. I'm glad that particular way of doing strong female characters is dying out, but it's also, it very much depends what you're looking for books.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sarah J. Maas gets worse at writing women characters.
Oh, no.
That's another thing.
Oh,
is
no.
That she gets worse at it because she tries to write feminism, and you were more feminist in the books where you weren't trying, and it just goes downhill. That's another issue I have with her more recent books, with the 800 pages of porn book, is it tries to also be feminist, and I'm like, sis, are you preaching to me? If you are, give me a plot, because there was like a plot about like...
Well, it's about your target audience, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, but that's the thing, is she can't decide what her target audience is.
Oh, that's not good.
No, because because her Throne of Glass series has a very clear target audience. It's aimed at, like, towards the last books, it's aimed more towards, like, 18, 19, 20-year-olds.
Yeah,
but, like...
That's more as well. The target audience has aged as the
Yes.
books go on, rather than the target audience is changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the books mature with their audience, and she starts writing more adult books rather than YA. But it's very clearly like, oh yeah, you are here for a fun fantasy novel where everything's like, you know, everything's going to be okay. The stakes aren't that high. Like, we're just here to have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's what she does with her other series. But then she tries to put like real world things in here, and I'm like, this is a fantasy series. These people have wings. They can fly. They live for like 500 years. Why are they sexist?
Yeah, and it comes off as like they haven't thought of this, rather than like this is a critique or that they're doing anything. Yeah,
a lot of people like to have the idea of, oh, but they're going to live for like 500 years. So like having a vampire be sexist to me makes sense. Like if you were born in the year like 1300 and you got turned into a vampire then, I could see you being sexist because, like, I don't know, maybe you went underground in, like, the 1800s. But if you're a fae if you're a fae who's going to live for 500 years, why are you homophobic? Like, you're going to live for 500 years. Play the field. And she does this thing called mates, which is, like, soulmates. Basically, you meet this person and they're, like, you're one for the rest of your life.
Right, soulmate AU, I understand.
But she has this really bad habit of pairing 19-year-old girls with 500-year-old fae dudes.
Ooh, yikes. Yeah.
Yeah, like my... Oh, is that John?
Oh, I think so. Hold on, I'll let him in. Welcome back.
Oh yeah, spoiler alerts. I'm about to talk a lot about the plot of, like, book 5 of Throne of Glass. So if you want to read it, just skip. So... In one
they
of the
locked me out.
Yes,
yeah. Also,
sorry.
You locked yourself out. We let you back in. We didn't have to do that. We could just let you sit there knocking.
That would be quite funny. That's where, you can go sit with Doug.
Yeah.
Doug.
Yeah. So one of the characters, her name is Elaine. Yeah, her name is Elaine, and I liked Elaine when I read her because she's a disabled character, and I am disabled, and so I was 12 and like, ooh, this is fun, because that never happens. And she's, from memory, but I was 12, and so maybe she's terrible, like, pretty decent.
Where's memory located?
In my knees.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Memory is stored in the knees.
Yeah. Knowledge is stored in the balls, memory is stored in the knees.
Where's piss stored?
In the bladder?
What's the bladder?
It's next to the spleen.
It's just a spleen.
Yeah.
Useless thing.
I know.
Just sits around all day spleening.
And so...
Thank you, Autumn, for that joke. That you probably stole from somewhere.
Keep
going.
So Elaine she manages to escape an abusive household with a witch. Her name is Manon. It's great. Manon, like, teaches her how to read, and they escape and they blow up this horrible abusive place, and it's great. But then she meets this fae guy. He's like 500 years old, a bastard. He's sworn to spend the rest of his life serving this queen that is the bad guy. His name is Lorcan, and he is awful. He's like 500 years old, which means he's having his midlife crisis for a fae. And he meets this 19-year-old girl and is like, oh yeah, I'm in love with you now.
Oh,
right? Which is quite yikes. And then he proceeds to use his magic to make it so that she walks better, which is fine, right? I wear a leg brace, and so at the time it was quite exciting because, like, there was a character who needed one. But now I'm older, I'm like, oh no, that's how you make it so she can't escape.
Yeah.
Like, this guy uses her magic, like, consistently. Like, a theme with them is if she's taking too long to, like, escape the bad guys, he just hauls her up like a sack of potatoes and puts her on his shoulder. As like, okay, we're going now, you were taking too long. I'm like, you could have asked first. And so it's just not the best relationship. And also, fae, it's established that all fae are kind of like weird and fetishizy about taking care of people. Like the fae males, because they aren't men, they're males, which is they get off on like looking after their partners, their mates. And so there are a couple times where he does stuff to look after her because she's in like chronic pain. And it's like, are you getting off to that? That's kind of icky.
How is this portrayed in the book?
It's portrayed as romantic, and I have two thoughts. The first is like, it's all of them. Like, we watch... spoilers for book 3. Elaine is a fae. Selena, her name is actually Elaine because she's a princess, because everyone has to be royal in this series.
Yes.
She's actually a fae.
I mean, she was a princess the whole time.
Yeah, right. But she's a princess of like an actual kingdom instead of like the princess of the underworld.
Oh, no, she was the princess of a destroyed kingdom.
Yeah, Terrasen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she goes and she meets this guy, Rowan. He's 300 years old and she's 19 and traumatized. There's a theme here. And he nurses her back to health, and together they learn to live, not survive, which I quite like because he's also traumatized. His wife died and he blames himself for it. It's quite sweet, but also, like, there are a couple of times where...
Yeah, it's a recurring thing.
It's a recurring theme of the guys getting off to helping, like, women
like
who can't help themselves at that time, and I'm like, oh...
Permission from you two, at least, to start psychoanalyzing Sarah J. Maas a little bit.
She has a pregnancy kink. I swear. She had her own children, and then every single one of her characters got pregnant, and I'm like, I'm so excited that you are finding being a mother fulfilling, but also, not every woman's story's happy ending is, oh yeah, I gave up all my magic and became a wife and mother, which is a thing she does in her feminist book.
I mean,
Cam, that was I think we could take that as an approved.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just going to say, it seems like she has a specific fantasy of, like, strong, like, confident older man rescues from bad situation, which is coming off real weird in a book aimed at, like, teens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. But yeah. It's, I mean, like...
I feel like the aimed at teens is the real thing here.
Yeah.
Like,
she's right. Like, the thing is, at the end of the day, when you're writing, you write with the hope that an audience enjoys, but you do write for yourself, right? Like, she's writing this because that's what she wants to be writing, and that's fair and understandable. But yeah, it is like sometimes you gotta look at something and say yikes and then move on.
Yeah, like, do I intend to finish rereading the series? Probably. It's probably gonna take me a while, but also, like, I'm not enjoying the fact I'm old enough to know what the yikeses are, because I'm like...
You can look at things critically now.
Also, it's the fact that when we meet Selena, she's 17, and I'm like, I am also 17. Why is she dating a 22-year-old? That's yucky. You don't do that. Like, a 22-year-old has finished their degree. I shouldn't have started mine yet.
Oh, my degree.
Your degree, which you finished at 22.
Yeah. Oh, my soul.
I'm sorry, Cam.
No, it's okay. I know what you mean. I understand the intent, but I did have to make a bit.
That's a whole degrees of experience, yeah.
Yeah, so that doesn't conclude my rant about Sarah J. Maas. I have so many thoughts.
No,
but
keep going.
Yeah, keep going,
that's
sure.
what this podcast is. We find something that you can rant about, and we sort of
I'm just going to talk more about Star Wars if you don't stop me.
Yeah.
The thing I'll tell the audience is that I bought, like, every single thing in, like, Phase 1, Wave 1 of the High Republic.
Jesus, the fact that you gotta fucking describe it like that hurts my brain.
I think it's, I don't know, I'm getting a little excited
have a good
for
time
it.
with
I didn't buy the junior, like, novel, but I bought both comics, and the adult book and the young adult book, and I'm gonna read them and I'll report back to you.
Alright, neat.
Now, back to the Sarah J. Maas report.
Back to Danika doesn't like this book series, but it takes up way too much of her brain space because...
You're allowed to have things that you, like, enjoyed when you were too young to really see all the flaws. And
you're allowed to have things that you hate in your brain space.
Like, you're allowed to still enjoy it even though you can see its flaws, because that's what it is to enjoy stuff.
Like, the only maybe positive about the age gap thing is there's also the Prince guy, Dorian. He ends up dating a woman who's, like, 500 years... She's old. She's a witch. She has iron teeth and iron claws and is, like, actually kind of cool to my memory.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, a 22-year-old dating a 17-year-old is, like, it's uncomfortable. It's not great.
Yeah, no.
But, like, that's, like, if you were then to move them 5 years up, which mentally for a lot of content you gotta do anyway, then that's completely fine at that point.
Yeah, I think of it as, like, the age gap between a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old and an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old. It's all the same age gap. But a 15-year-old has much less life experience proportionally.
It's proportionally.
Age gaps kind of get, like the acceptable age gap gets larger as the as people
it's like
and characters.
Yeah, because it's like a fraction of your age.
Yeah,
like 15, 3 years is I'm bad at math. I'm gay. I'm bad at math.
If you're it's a 40-year-old dating a 20-year-old, we can just make it highly extreme. The trick with math is to just make it stupid, because then it's easier. If you're a 4-year-old dating a 20-year-old, something that happens far too often, that's gross.
That's weird.
You were an adult when that person was not born. You have been an adult the whole time they've been alive. You have a whole extra life on them. Whereas if you are an 80-year-old dating a 60-year-old, that's fine.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to care. Because the actual proportional difference is wildly different.
Yeah. There's nothing happening in those 20 years that changes the experience.
John, age 80, lays down, sleeps for 20 years, is like, oh, I missed nothing.
Yeah. I know, I just feel like when you get to 60 and 80, your life probably doesn't
I think it's
go
still a big
through
gap,
many
right?
changes.
That's still a huge gap.
It's still,
it's not one that you go, ooh, that's something concerning.
Yeah.
That's
I guess
not
I'm not
a worry
60 or 80,
anymore.
so I don't actually know that much about
it's like
lives then.
A 15-year-old and an 18-year-old, if you do 15 over 18, someone who's good at math is going to tell me I'm doing this wrong.
I'm not going to do 15 over
yeah,
18
but
with my head.
they're
Grab
both
out my
divisible
phone
by
and do
3.
15 over 18.
All right?
Okay, yeah.
They're both divisible by 3, and if you divide 15 by 3, you get 5. And
Yep,
if you,
5 over 6, yeah.
5 over 6.
I really hope everyone at home is enjoying this segment where we do maths out loud. Make sure to follow along with your tech. Get a pen and paper.
Someone who's listening to the podcast is going to understand what I mean about fractionally.
Yeah.
There's a whole nother portion of your life that is quite a large amount if you look at it as
83%.
fractions.
So it's 17% less life.
Yeah. And it's I don't know.
That is functionally the same as 18 to 21.
Okay, maybe I'm making no sense, and I shouldn't be using
I see where
that.
you're coming from. It is also you being 17. That's a much more notable gap. And it's also specifically the gap between somebody who is 17 and somebody who is 19 is a bigger gap
than
culturally.
17 and 15, right?
Yeah, right. Culture, that's a big one.
Yeah. Culturally,
it is definitely not what it's definitely concerning in a way, but it's not as. Yeah, it's.
I think the conclusion here is we can all agree that a 19 to 300
don't
age
fucking
gap
500-year-old is great advice.
I reckon if you see someone and you're maybe interested in them and they're like, oh, I'm 500 years old, should maybe be maybe actually don't be should I date them or should I not? Then maybe be how are they 500?
Yeah.
How did they get?
It's a concept.
Maybe I should call the vampire.
If a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old start dating, and then a couple of years later they're an 18-year-old and 21-year-old. That's a lot more reasonable, if still weird. 15 and 8 again, the difference between a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old to them is huge.
Yeah.
Right.
15 and 18 is weird.
Yeah, someone who's 21 shouldn't see someone who's a 22-year-old shouldn't see a 17-year-old and want to start dating, and that's concerning.
Yes.
That's the part that's
15 and 18 is weird.
Yes,
so I think
because that's such a huge difference.
At that age, a 3-year age gap is
exactly.
Right now I'm if somebody is within 3 years of my age, we are the same age.
Yeah,
yeah.
Within 5 years of my age, I'm you're the same cultural chunk as me.
But
my dad has been in my head 40 for the last 5 years.
Yeah, my dad's been 50, even though he's probably 60 now.
I have no idea how old my dad is.
Yeah, that's me neither. Really, I don't really know how old most of my parents are and grandparents and whatnot.
They don't make a big deal of it as much.
Yeah. I'm going to do something for my birthday this year. I'm going to make a big deal about it.
Because our birthdays are right next to each other.
Wait, what day is your birthday?
Mine's the 17th. Yours is the 16th. We've had this
Really?
conversation before.
Which month?
April.
All right,
yeah.
I'm so close.
A couple of April Fools. Just being mean because it's fun.
Sorry. I always think about how close my birthday is to John Egbert's birthday.
Yeah, that 413.
413. I was on a call with a friend one time, and one of his friends joined, and we were talking about Homestuck, and so he was like, what are you talking about? Oh, Homestuck, check this thing out. It's okay, yeah, and we actually got him to read it on the call with he downloaded the unofficial Homestuck collection. And he was like, wait, this is my birthday, and he's like, why has the character got the same birthday as me? And we just holy shit, your birthday's the 13th of April.
Huge.
Anyway, that was the best thing ever happen to me, of getting someone to read Homestuck and then them being holy cow, that's my birthday. But yeah, we'll work out some birthday plans. We can do something on the 16th. We'll do something at midnight.
I will not make it to midnight.
Well,
I'm gonna make a terrible 18-year-old. I have reached 18 and I have not been drunk out of the decision to ask my parents to come pick me up at 11 o'clock, so I have an excuse not to drink at social gatherings where it would be acceptable for me to. I'm going
to say there's no such thing as an 18-year-old that's not at least a little bit terrible. I've been one.
Fair enough.
But no, that's fine. That's pretty normal.
Yeah.
Like,
you could just
it's not like,
drink. What?
Yeah. You're allowed to not drink.
You can just not drink.
Yeah, I told my uncle that my brother and I both don't drink at Christmas, and he's like, "You're lying, right? Surely." And I'm like, "No, uncle, you're the degenerate
will
here."
Not be able to comprehend.
My older sister and I, we also don't drink. So, yeah, sometimes people just like, "What, really?" I was
It is surprising. Like, it's notable. It's not the standard, especially for like young people, where it's expected that you're like learning how much, like, where your limits are with things and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not like anyone who makes a huge deal of it's being a bit of a dick.
Huh?
It's like, you know,
I can be a bit of a dick about it.
No, you can't.
If someone doesn't, if someone's gonna, like, don't be a dick about it if someone doesn't drink. Is what I'm saying.
No,
Name one time that John's been a dick.
I feel like I'm actually quite. I feel like anyone who has like invited me to a party or whatnot and has drunk and there is alcohol there knows I'm kind of shit about it. I'm not.
Oh no!
I'm
you're not being the dick here.
No. I feel like
saying.
I have been a dick in some situation. This is my confession of like I am not great at like if people are drinking, I don't understand what like a safe or normal amount is for them.
Right.
So like I don't really. For me, it's like, oh, you're either drunk or you're like sober. I don't understand like the middle ground.
That's fair. No, like that's fine. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's. This is a reasonable thing to do.
Yeah, but part of the reason why I say that I'm a terrible 18-year-old is because I reach midnight and I'm like, that's it. Show's over. Day's over. I'm going to sleep now.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Like.
I wasn't that when I was 18, but I'm that now.
Yeah.
It kind of.
I desperately look forward to 30 when it's socially acceptable for me to be like, yeah, I'm not going out tonight because I have work in 2 days and I need to be able to recover. I look forward to that being the norm.
That's just Cam.
Yeah.
Cam, I can't record the podcast tonight. We have work early tomorrow. I work early tomorrow, and that's so fair.
I'm so old now. When did that happen?
It's okay.
It's neat. I'm enjoying being old. It's just like, the passage of time is inherently scary.
Yeah, it really is.
I've always been old. When I was little, I used to cry if my parents made me stay up past 7 o'clock. Like baby Danika, aged like 7 years old.
Do you wake up early?
When I was really little, I would go to bed at like 6. Self-imposed bedtime, age 6. I would go to bed at like 6:30 and wake up at 4 a.m. My parents hated it.
No,
they were like,
"You got that different clock." I used to have that real bad the other way.
I think what happens, the reason why like teenagers and whatnot stay up so late and like, well, they get up late because they've stayed up late, and the reason you stay up late is because you're at home doing, I don't know, or out doing something fun, and when you wake up, you usually have to go to school or other things that you hate.
Yeah, so
right.
It's the only thing you've got real control of in your life when you're a high schooler is when you can fucking
go to bed. And when you go to bed is now, I don't know. At least for me in high school, it was like going to bed is like, okay, it's like I have to go to school immediately after. There is no, as soon as I go to bed, that is like 16 hours, and then I can like have my own time again.
Yeah.
So it is like just procrastinating, going to school, and doing things that you hate.
Yeah.
One of my friends had to train me into being able to stay up past like 10 o'clock. Like slowly but surely, he trained me to being like, you can stay up till 11, you can stay up till 12. Because I would tell him, I'm going to sleep now. And he'd just say, no, you aren't. He just harassed me for a little while. And now my sleep schedule's kind of broken. And he's like, it's not my fault. You could have put me on silent. I'm like, I mean, yeah, but I had no other friends. I have friends now. It's okay. And my sleep schedule's better because of it.
I don't know if that counts. I don't feel like, you could have just stopped talking to me. Like, it's like the drug dealer, right? Like, you could have just stopped. It's not my fault.
Going to sound a little bit rude, but I promise it's not.
Okay.
I'm so glad I'm not a teen anymore. Being a teen sucks so bad in so many ways.
Yeah, no, you're correct.
But the thing is that it does end, and then you're not a teen anymore, and it's so good.
It does suck, and just as my favorite Homestuck quote, my favorite line in the whole comment, in the whole 8,000-page comic. It's hard being a kid and no one understands. It's hard.
Yeah. Goddamn. No, like, just like, yeah, someone's like, I can go to bed in the middle of a conversation now. That's fine. But it's my choice.
Being
if
a
I
kid
do
and
or
growing
not.
up,
Yeah.
it's hard and no one understands.
I do that a lot now. I'll be like, okay, it's my bedtime now. I'm going to sleep.
Granted, if something is interesting enough, I'm like, okay, well, I can't sleep. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes there's something
it's like,
interesting on.
please, I really need to sleep. But like,
Sometimes there's a live stream on that you need
my
to
good
catch.
friend
or...
Lewis is in my house, and I'm happy to talk about clowns with him for like 4 more hours.
You're just like having a good conversation. It's like,
Yeah.
I can't have this all the time, and I'm going to, sacrifice my sleepy a little bit for it.
Yeah, sometimes the sleepy is worth sacrificing.
No, not anymore. I can't anymore. If I go to bed at like 11:30, that's like an hour past my bedtime. I feel that for the next day now.
I remember when I was like in high school, and I would stay up till like 1 a.m. to like watch
Oh yeah, no,
like the
I
Jingle
can still
Jam
do that if I
charity
don't have
live
anything on the next
stream.
day.
But
I don't like it.
I could easily stay up to like 1 or 2 a.m. now. But back then, I was staying up to 2 a.m. I would just be like, I'm doing like a visual gag of like
Yeah.
the
Pretending
nodding
to
off. Like
fall
I
asleep.
I could not pay attention.
No, I was my body clock was just shredding itself when I was in high school. It didn't work. It didn't line up. I didn't get enough sleep.
It
at any
just
point.
don't work.
Yeah.
It just ain't there.
And then for a good few years after that, I had a fucked up sleep cycle that, like, I could consistently sleep 15 hours a night for a while.
That's
Wow.
impressive. That's like
That's not
That's
good.
almost concerning. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was. Who'd have thought? I was very depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also turns out that my sleep's not good. So, who wants to hear the most old man trait that I now have?
I would love to
yeah,
hear the
please.
most old
I
man
got
trait
one of
you
those
have.
sleep machines that goes over my nose.
Oh, you got
now.
a CPAP?
Yeah, I got that CPAP. I'm on a CPAP diet.
Yeah, my dad has a
CPAP, I eat
CPAP.
it.
He's 60.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Wait, is it just the nose?
I got my one like covers the whole nose.
Yeah, my dad's one like covers the nose and like the mouth.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
They might switch me onto that at some point, but I don't think they need to for the moment. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's like I felt bad about, but I'm like I shouldn't feel bad about
No,
this.
you shouldn't. It helps with
I
sleep
fucking-
apnea.
yeah,
it's a
it's-
pretty common problem.
Yeah, well, I wake up hundreds of times a night normally, and it's like fuck that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so for a couple of weeks, I've been using this, and it's been like I think it's a little better. Yeah. So I feel old as shit, but it's like the human body's not built very well, and that's not my fault.
No, it's really not.
It's normal to wake up like 6 times an hour.
My least favorite fun fact about the human body is that in order for us to evolve to stand upright, right?
Oh, the spine.
Yeah, our spine, it's designed to get fucked because we aren't supposed to be.
Yeah, it's not
Upright.
meant to do that.
But part of the thing is we developed bigger glute muscles to be able to hold ourselves, right? So the butt is really important for developing brain. And we also have a big brain because we have good glute and fat storage and stuff. But in order to stand upright, our hips got narrower and our heads got bigger. And so babies, they kind of frequently break the pelvis in half coming out.
Yes.
And that's just like,
Yeah, there's a
that's
limit on
not a design
gestation.
flaw. That's part of it.
The reason that human babies are so useless for so long is
It's
because
'cause
they
there's supposed to be a
physically
fourth
can't be
trimester.
in there anymore.
Yeah. So
They're too big.
So you
Jesus.
give birth in the 3rd trimester, and then there's a 4th trimester, which doesn't work because there's try is 3, where basically for a lot of people nowadays, they just constantly have their baby strapped to them because it's like, we need to simulate you being in the womb because that's where you're supposed to be, buddy.
Don't worry about fourth is 3, like fourth with 3 things. John is a man who understands that there's 9 quadrants. So you're safe.
No, aren't they charms?
Yeah,
9?
charms are just 9 quadrants though.
Yeah. I saw
What if
someone.
the quadrants was
I
9 of
saw
them?
someone do an actual like analysis and plot out what
Send it
all
to
the
me.
charms were. But I was like, I need to read this because I didn't have time to read it, and I didn't. I need to
Oh, you gotta
re-find it
find it,
because
right.
it looked really interesting.
Sorry, we're talking about something very stupid.
So
I can't wait to be explained. What is the stupid thing?
So Homestuck has one of the things that Homestuck does with
Is this like the mate spirits and the
the troll romance,
Moira,
right? So-
Moirals?
Moirails.
So trolls have like 4 quadrants that romance goes in, and humans just have 1, which is one of the quadrants that trolls have.
Okay.
And then leprechauns have a fucking 9 grid, like it's a 3x3.
They have
grid
a-
of
they
They're
have-
trolls.
out here playing tic-tac-toe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
straight up though.
Yeah, but Homestuck loves to be self-referential and whatnot.
Yes.
So to make fun of the quadrants, it made
A joke one.
it made a joke one for there's a
Little green
species
felt
called
leprechaun.
leprechauns, which are all minor characters. They're very silly, funny guys. But it's introduced basically as a joke that isn't explained to you. Like, oh, they've actually got 9. They've got
so it's
charms.
Like threatens to explain the charms.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a whole heap of stuff in Percy Jackson, because John wasn't a Greek mythology kid, because he wasn't a Percy Jackson kid, and he'll message me being like, Danika, this is ridiculous, and then I have to be like, well, you see, in Greek mythology.
I've been reading Percy Jackson and live-blogging it to Danika in case
it's so
people
good.
haven't picked up on the context.
Yeah, context. John is reading Percy Jackson for the first time.
Percy Jackson's it's weird. The main thing I enjoy of it is just Rick just being like, I have all this power. I'm saying the Greek gods still exist, and I'm going to just like throw out random bullshit and references and be like, yeah, that was actually the Greek gods. My favorite is like how Amelia Earhart was like actually a demigod.
Oh, the guinea pig chapter. So, spoilers for Percy Jackson book 2, but it came out in like 2006, and so you can be spoiled or like skip this bit. Yeah. But they go to. Have you read Percy Jackson, Cam?
No, okay.
I have not. So they sail into the Bermuda Triangle,
which is the Sea of Monsters.
Yeah, which is the Sea of Monsters.
Absolutely.
And they're looking for the Golden Fleece like Jason did.
I understand.
Right? And they stop at an island resort, so it's like a big spa, and they meet these like women who are like, hey, come on, we'll get you all like sorted out. We get loads of weary travelers. Turns out it's Cerise, who hates men.
So, yep.
Right?
Yeah, she's like, we'll glam you up. We'll get you the perfect body.
I understand my Greek mythology.
Yeah. And so
I don't.
They separate Percy and Annabeth, right? Because Annabeth is a woman, she can be taught sorcery. Because Percy is a man, he is bad. This is Cerise's logic, not mine. Don't come for me, please. Percy is a man, and they show him this like mirror, and it's like, this is what you could be if you drink this potion. And they give him this like pink goo. And he looks at himself in the mirror, and because he's like 13 and about to start puberty, he's deathly insecure and hates himself, which like mood.
He also like never really had many friends or people supporting him in his life.
Yeah, his best friend was his mum for quite a little while.
Mirror that shows you, but you don't hate it.
Yes.
Sick.
And
Pink goo time.
Pink goo time, and he like is like, no, I shouldn't do this, but like glug glug, let's drink the goo. It turns him into a guinea pig.
He gets put in the guinea pig.
Yeah, he gets put in the guinea pig jail.
Get put into tender
because. To quote Cerise, and I quote, men are pigs, but when we turned them into pigs, they made too much of a mess, so now you can be guinea pigs.
Yeah, totally fair.
Right? And so Annabeth realizes that there's something wrong and gives basically the entire guinea pig cage magic drugs from the god Hermes to turn them back into people. Right? This makes sense. Hermes.
Some of those were just guinea pigs, though, weren't they?
No.
One of them was the pirate Blackbeard.
Neat.
And so this is my sister's line in the my sister's favorite line in the entirety of book 2 is Blackbeard yelling, "Give me a big bowl of celery, lads! Let's go storm the ship." He's like, I desperately need some celery.
Yeah, I've been a guinea pig for too long. Celery's quarter how I think.
So you're just reading the book, and then all of a sudden you get to this chapter, and the main character turns into a guinea pig for all of about 4 pages, and then he comes back, and Blackbeard's there, and he's like, they talk in the most stereotypical style, like, "Arr, me lad."
Yeah, it's
that
great.
kind of thing.
Sick.
And then the main characters go and steal the Queen Anne's revenge.
Sick.
And use that as the boat.
Nice.
And Percy, I expected John to like make fun of this, but John's like, no, this makes sense. Percy has magic boat powers. He can just magically steer boats with his mind because he's the son of the sea god.
Yeah, that's fine.
Also, my favorite detail is when he goes into fresh
I remember
water.
Blackbeard showing up in Animorphs, but the rest of this lines up.
Whenever he goes into fresh water, he was in a boat, and then he goes into fresh water.
Oh, it doesn't work anymore?
And he's like, fuck, man. Oh, this sucked. It's like he gets off like a drug high. He describes like the adrenaline leaving and like everything feeling more down and whatnot. So yeah, he goes into the fresh one. It's like, oh, this sucks. I can't. I don't have any powers anymore. Literally.
Yeah. But I fully expected John to be like, oh, so the sea boy gets the ocean, like gets the boat powers. But no, that one's okay.
I mean, who else is getting the boat powers?
Another thing that John was like, that's not how this works, that I was like accepted because I read the books when I was in like year 6 first, is all the demigods have dyslexia because their brains are hardwired for ancient Greek.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, right?
What? I'm like, what?
But John reads that and he's like, that's not how dyslexia works though. And I'm like,
what?
They're diagnosed as having dyslexia, but what they've got is a little different.
True. Okay.
Their brains are like hard. Like what language is?
No,
this language is wrong.
No, the other bit was also they have ADHD because like they have warrior
battle.
brains. Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to say.
What?
Yeah.
How
Well,
is
so
how is
here's
the
the reason why they
dyslexia
have-
I
one
don't
not
think that
weird?
any motherfucker would explain me as having fucking warrior brain.
So
Like,
the
if it
reason they
turns-
have ADHD and dyslexia is because
Yeah.
at the time of the first Percy Jackson book coming out, Rick's oldest son
he's writing
had
it
just
for-
got
yeah,
diagnosed
yeah.
with ADHD and dyslexia and was really into Greek mythology.
Yeah, no, I get
and
it.
so
And that's really cool.
yeah, it's one of the reasons why Rick keeps trying to make sure that he has good representation, and it's really sweet because it just makes my heart happy because you can tell he puts lots of effort
But it's
into
like,
it.
Yeah, it's not that like they have dyslexia and ADHD. It's that like they have something
They
that
have
you
God
would
blood.
mistake for dyslexia and ADHD
Yeah.
because of other reasons. But it's like, yeah, if you just work with it, that's a good thing. Like that's not a problem.
Yeah. One,
I don't think anyone would describe me as having a warrior brain.
One of the things that's kind of weird to read as like an adult who knows that like medication is a good thing actually is that demigods are actively discouraged from taking ADHD medication because the monsters will use it to their advantage because it like makes them function normally. It means that they can't keep themselves safe from monsters, which makes complete sense in universe, but
not a
also
great thing to have written. Yeah.
No.
Sorry, Mum. I can't take my meds, otherwise the monsters will come.
exactly. And I'm like, makes complete sense in universe. I highly doubt that Rick is anti.
Not a great bit for the representation you're trying to do
I
there.
don't know
Yeah.
if it does, guys. Like, if it's not ADHD, it's actually warrior brain. Then wouldn't the meds?
The meds have consequences in that way. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
Okay, I guess.
I know what you mean. But
It feels. I understand
can
why
see
he
the
did it,
step
and I think
that
it's sweet.
I can see the writing step for that, but it is like, yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things you're like, oh,
It's
this was
good.
written in the year 2005.
You just slowly add to the little like lump underneath the rug. You know what I mean? Because you're sweeping things under there.
But
See-
Yeah.
I'm going to have to come back onto the podcast and talk about this after John has finished the series because I have so many things that I know he's
Absolutely.
going to have thoughts about. But, like,
You can just talk to me in places that aren't the podcast.
yes, I do that already. But also, I know
fun,
that
though.
there are a whole bunch of other UniSFA people who will also have Percy Jackson thoughts that I would like to share with them.
It's true.
Make a Percy. No, do not make a Percy Jackson club.
I'm not going to make a Percy Jackson club. Like, as much as I love it, there's not enough content. I don't understand how the Harry Potter club's a thing. I'm like, there's not enough content, and most of it's bad.
Oh,
And I said-
get me started, buddy.
Okay, I will change the subject.
No,
but
it's all good.
as a person who
I
was a
understand what you mean.
massive Harry Potter fangirl for a really long time, right, really long time, still holds like a very important place in my heart. I'm like, as an adult, I'm like, okay, I understand you got into this when you were like 6 and had no understanding of what books were.
The Harry Potter Club was created before like the big cultural divide on it. It was while it was at its popularity still.
But I
And
don't.
the thing is that
understand.
it was brought up during the meeting like, hey, why is this not part of UniSFA? And UniSFA was like, yeah, why isn't this part of UniSFA?
But I don't even understand how they have enough to like talk about and run events about that the club is a thing. Because there's not that much Harry Potter content unless you're reading fan fictions. And like, what do you do?
Some clubs are just not very active.
A
I feel like
a lot of
UniSFA
clubs
is
are-
like relatively very
UniSFA
active
is a
club.
really active club compared to most others.
Yeah.
Like the numbers that UniSFA pulls compared to like some previous years are not great, but like compared to most clubs are still spectacular.
Even though the numbers, what like I don't know. I feel like we get a
engagement,
decent amount of engagement. We
And
run a
in
lot of
resources as well.
events and have a lot of resources. Yeah, we're kind of a big deal. I am kind of a big deal.
But yeah, like I was just thinking like if you don't want a Percy Jackson club, would you consider a Percy Jackson mace?
What does that mean?
It's like-
Maybe.
instead
What
of a
about Percy
club,
Jackson?
it's
Like,
made of metal.
Oh,
what about like a Percy Jackson flail?
Yeah, flails. Like a flanged mace.
Flails are
Like a
so.
morning star.
I remember I
even.
used to think
I'm just
flails
thinking
were
of,
so cool.
Like, blunt weapons.
Flails were so cool, but
Flails
now
are
I'm
cool,
just
but
like
they're not
kind of
good.
scared of them because
Yeah.
I'm like, man, it's so easy to just bonk yourself with
Right.
a flail.
if we weren't running the Warrior Cats RP, I feel like a Percy Jackson RP would be pretty fun. But we have Warrior
Oh, that
Cats.
could be
going.
cool. I just being son of I don't know, whatever god's more powerful than your one. I mean, just being the son of Hades.
He's just hanging out.
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna be the son of Hades, and my character is gonna be trying to escape hell, and I need to like slowly meet people
Oh, like
along the way.
Carcat.
What? What?
Oh, you don't know? I'm gonna send you an image. You know that fucking
John, hurry up and finish reading the
Zagreus-
book so I
Oh,
can
he
make my
does
bit.
look a bit like a
Hades
troll.
is just Carcat.
He does look like a bit like a troll.
I have so many bits about like escaping hell, but I can't make any of my bits. But like, if you know, you know. John,
like, you know his like wreath, his laurel wreath.
Yeah, it looks like
look
horn.
at the color palette on that bad boy, John.
It's just Homestuck.
They knew.
what's the joke? Everything is Homestuck secretly.
No, this one's Homestuck like right on main.
Like, oh my god, his like skin tone is like pretty grey as well. What class is Karkat? Is he a knight?
Knight of Blood.
He's a Knight of Blood. Zagreus is definitely not. Yeah, he's just Karkat.
Zagreus is just Karkat. I hate to tell you this. I'm sorry, this is how you found out. Yeah.
The only difference is that they're like kind of...
Show Danika as well.
Fellas, if your girl is the god of blood, has red and orange horns, and doesn't like being called a red blood, the quote from the game is, well, I say I don't appreciate you calling me a red blood. You're making me rather self-conscious about it, you know. That's not your girl, that's Karkat Vantas.
Can I see the image, please?
This is a different image. This
I
is
really
the
wish I
meme.
brought my glasses.
This is the image.
Oh, yeah, I can see.
The problem that the only issue to this theory is the fact that Zagreus's and Karkat's personality are almost polar opposites.
Yes.
They
People can grow.
Huh?
People can develop as people.
They can develop as people. Karkat's development is not getting less angry. It's
No,
just
it is.
it kind of
Like he gets like more like reasonable.
no. He just
about it.
he doesn't learn to not be angry. He just learns to like show his appreciation to his friends as well
he
as
also is
being
that
angry.
He becomes less like horrifically insecure, so he doesn't have to be so over
Yeah.
the top angry all the time.
Yeah, he learns.
But yeah,
He learns he doesn't have to fight himself.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
How many episodes have we talked about Homestuck in this podcast?
Most
Not
of them.
enough.
Most of them.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That's what we signed up to do. We're
I'm-
doing our part.
Yeah, I'm so bad at listening to podcasts. Like, I'll listen to them on very specific occasions because I don't have the attention
No,
span for it.
I'm the same. I can't.
That's why John edits the podcast.
I was editing the last podcast, the one I wasn't on, and you guys mentioned the editing so much. Like,
Editing,
there's like,
John,
oh,
do
we can
this,
cut that
please.
out. Oh, we can change this. Oh,
Most of
it's
those
fine.
were bits.
And it's like, no, you don't know shit. I'm the one doing all this.
Yeah, we were very happy to just be like, yeah, John will fix it.
Yeah, literally. And it's fine. I did.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. That was fun. That was a fun podcast. Go listen to last podcast, episode 24.
Finish this podcast first and then
yes.
go listen
Also,
to the
you
last
talked
one.
about what was it? Dan versus the
Dan versus
the
Phil?
ontological evil.
Is that a real thing?
No.
Okay, because I must have like zoned out when you were talking about that when I was listening, because I just assumed it was a real thing. Otherwise, I would have called the episode that.
Oh, that's something. Okay, when it comes to assuming things are real, I was at a funeral for my grandmother recently.
How is this related?
This is a really funny story,
Okay.
I promise. And so, the coffin's being lowered in, and it's it's a sad moment. But
Yeah,
I
it
remember
really- That's
I
the
remember
saddest.
the sketch Coffin Flop from I Think You Should Leave.
Oh, I love Coffin Flop.
It's a really funny sketch. And thankfully I'm wearing a mask, right? Because I'm at a public event. And so I'm sitting there like trying hard not to like laugh audibly because my mouth is doing some fucking
because you're
shapes.
you're expecting your
Because I'm thinking about the funniest thing I could possibly think about while
Which-
something very sad happens.
Coffin Flop.
Coffin Flop, yeah. Which is it's a fake TV show where they
With
film funerals and
No.
show the ones on TV where the dead bodies fly out.
Oh, God! Like, what?
Where they just pop out of the coffin.
Have you seen that thing that's like,
Hours of
wouldn't it be
footage of
funny if someone
dead
stormed
bodies.
the Queen's coffin and it turned out people had just been following an empty coffin round?
Yeah.
Or...
No, so it's like fucking like hours of footage of dead bodies busting out of shit wood and hitting pavement.
I'll show you the video
You
after.
wouldn't
It's
believe
really
how
good.
many dead bodies fall out of coffins every year, and it's impossible that 1 out of every 5 of them is nude.
What?
Anyway, like the whole thing is it's a fake TV show
Oh,
that's being
it's so
cancelled, and the
funny.
creator is trying to get
Yeah,
the show to stay.
they're trying to cancel CornCob TV.
Yeah. So
Cancel
so
culture is real.
I showed my mum that video. After warning her what kind of like it's some dark funny, but I was like this is what I was thinking.
It's
of
a good
during
type of
funeral,
dark
right?
funny.
Yeah,
It's not the
yeah.
dark edgy funny, which
And
is
she,
actually
she
just like
agreed
racism.
that it was funny, right? And she showed a few co-workers the video of Coffin Flop. But she thought it was real.
Oh, no!
She thought Coffin Flop was real and has real discussions with her co-workers about like isn't it fucking unbelievable how many dead bodies fall out of coffins?
And
you'd be
people wonder
surprised how many of them are
misinformation
nude.
spread. You'd be surprised.
And I because I was at like
Precious.
breakfast with her over the weekend, and she brought that up, and she was like saying, like, "Isn't that crazy?" I'm like, "Mom, no, that's not real." Oh God, and she's like, "What?" I've shown people. Oh no,
This is so sad.
That's so funny. So, this is related in like the most isn't related at all.
No, yeah.
Is that so? From listening to the Morbius podcast, I just started lying to people about what happened in Morbius,
absolutely.
right? Because
that's the right thing to do.
I have never seen Morbius once in my life, but I just started lying to people. And I'm like, oh yeah, Keanu Reeves and Benedict Cumberbatch in this movie, they're a secret gay couple, and they're just in the background occasionally, and nobody talks about it because we all collectively agreed not to watch that movie. And some people believe me, and some people are like, that's you're lying. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
So bummed to believe that you didn't actually
Gaslighting
believe
people about
that Benedict
Morbius.
Oh no,
Cumberbatch
there was a
in
period of time where I did believe that, but now I'm joining you in gaslighting other people about it. And I'm like, this is fun. This is we also lied to Thalia about drop bears. That was a fun bit. That was a fun thing.
Lying about drop bears is a classic.
It is.
That's a
do you mean
standard Australian
lying?
pastime. Well, we lie to them by saying that they're not real, so that if they get got by a drop
I thought
bear,
you were
it's a
saying
surprise.
that they
No, why would I do that?
that they weren't real
Yeah.
for a second, and I was like, have I been wearing Vegemite in my thongs all this time
Yeah.
for nothing?
You have, yeah.
Sorry, have I been wearing?
It
Have
won't
I
save
have
you.
I put like Marmite in my flip flops this whole time for nothing? Have I put Marmite in my flip flops this whole time for nothing?
Marmite's a British thing. Why are you doing the? Like,
I don't know. What's the
Texan
American
accent?
Vegemite?
I don't think they have one.
Yeah, it's
Fucking
like
gunk.
gunk. Have I been putting gunk in my flip flops this whole time for
It's
nothing?
just McDonald's grease.
Have I been putting McDonald's Szechuan sauce in my flip flops for nothing this whole time? I can't believe it.
Let's see how far we can push John on this one.
I can't believe I've been putting the McDonald's flip sauce in my Szechuan sauce, and I didn't know you could drop it.
My cheeks really hurt. I basically spent the last like hour and a half just like smiling, and now my cheeks are really sore.
Flip-flops. It's me, Frankfurt. I've been
Fucking
putting
Frankfurter.
Vegemite in my flip-flops for daddy me.
Frankfurter, I hope that I can see you at the OGM.
Oh my god, what if Frankfurt visits the OGM?
Frankfurter
See,
has been brought
I've
up
just
so many
assumed
times.
this is like Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror.
No, Frankfurter is John's hypothetical D&D loving fresher, and I'm like, Frankfurter, good kid. Try other games.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a silly bit because you had the voice for the whole thing.
I'm imagining a scene now where Frankfurter, where imagine you're discussing the OGL, and you're this little kid Frankfurter comes up to you, and he looks up at you. He's wearing his big I Heart D&D shirt, and he just says, "What's happening? What's an OGL? What's happening?" And you can see like tears forming in his eyes. What are you gonna say to him?
I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna put my hands on his shoulders, and I'm
And
gonna
then throw him
compress
through a
into
window?
a little cube.
And
No, that's it.
Well, now he's a cube.
Yeah.
what are you just gonna carry it around with you?
Oh, I'm gonna donate him to Uni Games because they can always use more dice.
There was a time we had 2,000 dice in our house.
Nice.
Like, we had an
That's
order.
Warhammer
I
family.
see someone was playing fucking Gene Stealers.
So we had an order of like 2,000 dice, and we had to put them in little baggies of 12, 18.
Yep.
And there were a lot of people who were like, how much do I have to pay to come and roll all 2,000 dice at once? And it was like, oh, this is so
This
many.
feels like a Mr. Beast video.
Yeah, we
1
bagged.
cent per like number you roll.
That's pretty good. We bagged it while watching The Mummy. As like a family, the five of us just sat there and watched The Mummy and bagged dice. So like,
I think
That's
you should.
an average of. What's this?
we've established none of us are good at math.
I think it should be every time you roll a 1.
14,000, so that'd be $140.
I think you should. Every time you roll a 1, you have to pay 1 cent, and
it
then you
might be-
re-roll it.
It might be $1,400. I'm not dealing with this.
No,
I'm bad
okay.
at math. You could
You-
literally tell me
for every
any number,
one,
and
it's
I'd be like, yes.
overkill in Lancer. Every 1 you roll, you have to pay a cent and then re-roll it.
Yeah.
Charity events where you get to like pay to win, they're quite funny to me. were at a charity event where someone went up to the TOs and were like, "Hey, can we tape this guy's hand to his like leg?" And the TOs were like, "Is he okay with it?" And they were like, "Yeah." And it was like, okay, it cost $30. And this guy spent the entire like Warhammer game with his hand taped to his leg. Just like,
that's a huge fucking drawback in a Warhammer game as well.
It was. There was another guy who, for reasons unknowable, showed up in a rabbit onesie. He was like, "We are raising money for men's mental health, and I am in a rabbit onesie." And I'm like,
neat.
Yeah,
Sure.
as you do.
I'm thinking of now,
men's mental health.
you know, charity pay to win, or, you know, pay to get what you want or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do a lot of, I'm really a big fan of like charity pay to win things, you know. The charity I like to support is Chinese game developers, specifically the ones who make Genshin Impact. Yeah, I just really do a lot of charity work for them, you know. And I really like
this was going to be a bit about uncharity vigil, and
no, this is a bit about spending money on Genshin Impact because it's charity work. You're helping out those developers. They need to live too. They probably have hard lives with like crunch and whatnot. So you know, you get some little rewards from it or something, you know.
But what if we plugged uncharity vigil? Right?
Yeah, we should go to that.
No, by the time this episode comes out, it'll
listening.
be over.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
No, actually, I don't know.
When if it hasn't happened yet, go to it. And if it has, go to the next one.
Go to the next one.
If it has, go like spend some money at Unigames.
If it has, do it. If it don't, it don't, you know.
Please, these couches are so bad.
Oh, it's next
These
weekend.
are fine. I've seen some shit.
Oh boy, it's next weekend.
You've got time.
Oh, is that...
Wait, like, as in, what's the date? Is it this weekend or next weekend?
It's this weekend.
This weekend. Okay, that's pretty soon.
Yeah. Jeez.
You get out in the middle of uncharity vigil. That would be kind of funny.
Oh, I'm going to...
But yeah.
I'm going to a concert that Sunday night.
Oh, you're going to be dead.
Maybe.
I remember staying up all night for charity vigils.
God damn
Can't
it.
do that anymore.
I might need. Yeah. I think we're about the end of the podcast. Everyone listening and everyone here, everyone listening at home on the bus,
And nowhere else.
and nowhere else. Do you have any final thoughts?
Probably.
Okay, Danika.
I had another funny tournament story in Bolt Action. So Bolt Action
Oh,
is
I know
a
Bolt Action.
war
It's like-
it's a war game where it's like based on the real world, based on like real wars. And this one guy, his granddad was a sergeant in World War II, and his granddad is a soldier on the table that he got. And every time his granddad gets down to like one hit, like one wound left, he just takes him off the table because he doesn't want his granddad to die.
Aww.
So he just like keeps taking him out of the battle. Like he gets to see a lot of action, but granddad is not allowed to die, and it's very sweet.
It's canon that he lived.
Yeah.
Deserter, but he lived. My final thought is on writing potential things to talk about in this episode. I talked about how I'd been I was thinking of like how I went to some concerts and like I sung it, you know. Well, I didn't sing. I was singing along with the band or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I was like, it was quite hard, so my voice was a little damaged afterwards. And the dot point I just wrote down was concerts and my lungs hurtled, sad face.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the most I've ever damaged my voice is running Primarchs at camps, where I run like a fucking 18-person stats auction.
Ooh, Jesus.
And by the end of that auction, with 2 days of GMing Primarchs left, my voice is at the point where I can only do a like comic deep gravelly voice because that's the only thing I can force out of my throat.
Wow.
Does it improve the chainsaw impersonation?
Maybe. I don't think it changes it too much. It's like my regular talking voice just disappears. Do you want me to do the buzzsaw bit?
Yeah.
Yeah? And now the podcast ends.